Let's talk about Paul Graham. You might know him as the co-founder of Y Combinator, maybe as an influential essayist, or even as a programmer at heart. The guy has fundamentally shaped how an entire generation of founders thinks about building companies. So what's he all about? What are his core ideas? Well, let's dive in and unpack it. And we're going to start right here, because this quote, this is the key to everything. It's not about being perfect from day one. Not at all. It's about a messy, scrappy, iterative process of creation. It's a way of thinking that, as you'll see, goes way beyond just writing code.
You see, that whole idea of beating it into shape is the very heart of what Graham calls the maker's mindset. So to really get his philosophy, you have to stop thinking like an engineer with a perfect blueprint and start thinking more like a painter staring at a blank canvas.
I mean, this just completely demolishes that old-school engineering approach, right? The idea that you're supposed to map out a whole program on paper before you even touch a keyboard. Graham says that's just wrong. Great things come from sketching, from making a mess, from gradually beating an idea into shape. The code itself should be like clay in your hands, a tool for thinking, not just for executing some rigid plan.
Okay, so you've got the mindset down, you're ready to sketch and refine, but what do you build? Graham's next big idea is all about where you should start looking. It's about finding a market that has the DNA to become huge, even if it doesn't look like much at first.
This is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Or these days, the billion-dollar question. Huge markets don't just pop up out of nowhere, fully formed. Graham argues they start small, really small, in a very specific kind of environment.
And this is his brilliant term for it, a larval market. Just think of a tadpole. It doesn't look anything like the frog it's going to become, right? Most people would just dismiss it. It seems too small, too niche, maybe even a little bit silly. But that's exactly where the magic is. That's where the real opportunity hides.
And the classic example, of course, is the personal computer. Back in 1976, it was just a thing for a tiny group of nerdy hobbyists. It looked like a toy. But that was its larval stage. The key, as Graham points out, is that the founders themselves are the first users. They're already living in the future that they want to build, and that gives them the superpower to see the tadpole and imagine the giant frog. But listen, even the most amazing larval market is totally useless if you don't have the right people to tackle it. And this brings us to Graham's third pillar, the team. For him, the team, especially those first 4 or 5 people, is absolutely everything.
So to find these people, Graham has this really memorable test. Are they an animal? It's not just about being good at your job. It's about being obsessed. It's the programmer who's still up at 4 a.m. hunting down a bug, not because they have to, but because they can't sleep until it's fixed. It's a relentless drive that goes way beyond a 9-to-5 mentality. In a startup, you need that fire.
But spotting talent isn't just about raw skill. Not even close. There's this deeper, more human element. And to understand that, we have to talk about another YC co-founder, Jessica Livingston. Graham called her special ability the social radar. He said that while he and the other partners were analyzing the idea, they would always turn to her for the most important question of all. Is this a good person? She had this incredible, almost X-ray vision for character, and she could spot a faker a mile away. That ability became the bedrock of trust for the entire YC network. All right, so you've got the maker's mindset, a promising little market, and a team full of animals. There's only one thing left to do. And it's the one thing that became the legendary motto of Y Combinator itself. Seriously, forget all the other excuses you hear for why startups fail. Graham is completely ruthless on this point. It's not about running out of money. That's just a symptom. The disease, the real killer, almost every single time, is that they built something nobody truly wanted. It's as simple as that. So how do you avoid that fate? Well, you don't guess. On the left here, you see the approach he champions, and it goes right back to that idea of sketching. Get a rough version out fast, see how real people react, and then you refine. The Hail Mary strategy on the right, with the elaborate plans, big budgets, huge teams, that's just a massive gamble that you can perfectly predict the future. And let's be real, you almost never can. Now, when you combine that animal team with a product people actually want, the result can be, well, enormous wealth. But how does that engine really work? Graham breaks it down into 2 fundamental parts: measurement and leverage. Think about it. In a big company, your individual work kind of gets lost in the crowd. Your impact is averaged out. But in a startup,
everything you do is visible. It's directly measurable. That's the first piece. The second piece is leverage. Technology, especially software, lets a tiny team build something that can serve millions of people. It amplifies their effort exponentially. So measurement plus leverage, that equals wealth creation.
And Graham simplifies this even further. Technology isn't some complex, mystical thing. It's just a better technique. It's a new, more efficient way of doing something. A restaurant serves food one customer at a time. A startup's job is to invent and perfect a new technique that can scale. That's the source of all its leverage.
So when you put all of this together, the mindset, the team, the process, it all leads to one final and honestly pretty thrilling challenge. What are the truly big, scary problems that you could solve with this framework?
And here's the catch. The most transformative ideas are frightening. They feel impossibly big. They don't just feel like a lot of work. They actually make you question yourself, your own identity. They make you wonder, am I really the kind of person who could pull this off? But those are the ideas that actually change the world.
For example, take email. We all live in email hell, right? Graham points out that it was never designed to be the universal to-do list it's become. So the frighteningly ambitious idea isn't to just build a better email app. It's to replace the entire protocol with something new, something built for action from the ground up.
He applies that exact same logic to universities. I mean, they've been around for 1,000 years, but have they lost their way? Graham suggests they don't have a monopoly on learning anymore, and that a startup could deliver a far better education for far less money. Now that is a disruptive idea. And finally, maybe the ultimate challenge. He says that since Steve Jobs, there's been a real vacuum in visionary consumer hardware. If the big companies aren't going to make the next truly game-changing device, then a startup has to. A single founder with real product vision could create the next thing we don't even know we need yet. And that really brings us to the end of this journey, and to the fundamental challenge Paul Graham's philosophy leaves all of us with. This is more than just a playbook for startups. It's a framework for thinking, for building, for aiming ridiculously high. So the final question isn't really about him, is it? It's about you. What broken system do you see? And what are you going to build to fix it?